start with a clearing of the throat. Hey guys, is there any way I could ask you guys to talk inside just for 5 minutes? Because we're gonna have, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna tape this thing, and I can't have any background. See, there's something going on here. Do you see this, Chris? See, I'm recording right now, and Mike and I are going to do a fireside chat about him buying the Hunter. And I mean,
you guys are gay.
I can't have a lot of background. Here we go. So on this trip with us, we've got Mike Draper and Mary Draper. Mike is my best friend from grade school, I guess, 6th grade, something like that. And we both lived in California. He still does. I live in Florida, as you know. So Mike and I, when we grew up together, we started sailing because my dad was a sailor and we had sailboats, and we raced around San Francisco. So we were California coastal sailors. So anyway, then Mike and I got busy with careers and jobs and families and all that. But this specific trip of Mike coming down is unique because he started telling me, about a month ago, that he was thinking maybe he's going to buy a sailboat, which is kind of funny that two friends from high school end up buying boats in the Caribbean. But go ahead and tell us about that.
So, Randy calls me about a month or so ago and says, dude, was it dude?
Yeah, I think it's a dude.
You won't believe this, but the 149's back on the market. You have to buy this. And then he went on this entire, checklist of things that he has personally done with that boat. I think the one thing I've always wanted to, gosh, we used to sail down here. We've sailed down here for years on the Hunter 49, and then this is my first trip on this boat. But every time, it always brings back those great memories of sailing. And so,
well, the first time we had the Hunter and we sailed it to St. Martin is where you first saw that boat in person.
Right.
Lennie's my first sailboat in the Caribbean. Mike came down and he got on board the boat, and we headed for St. Bart's. And I have a great picture of him sitting up at the mast, and he just turned around and said, "This is a game changer." He's like, "I'm going to be retiring in a few years," and I think it was like he had just found something, and he hadn't sailed in 30 years or whatever, you know. So he just over a period of years started studying and whatever, and getting a little more serious. And Lennie and I would think they're not really going to buy a sailboat in the Caribbean.
I knew that number one, the boat had been meticulously maintained, and the current owner only had it for 18 months, so there really wasn't much that that changed over that period of time. And so that whole anxiety, that fear just kind of completely went away as soon as I started envisioning the possibility of purchasing that particular boat. So that was
I offered 24/7 tech support.
The coincidence was really about the timing, because I always thought that my thought or plan is if we did something like this would be after I was to retire in a few years, if that was the case, or at least get out of the kind of the corporate career I've had for over 30 years, and for the first 2 years or the first 5 years, spending most of my time just learning the boat, learning all the little bits and pieces, how to repair stuff, doing all the maintenance, and getting really comfortable, and then being able to go out and start making some passages and doing some other things. I wanted to be more ready for that, and so maybe that's just one way for me to rationalize going earlier than later. But the idea is really getting used to it and determining whether or not this is the kind of the things in my retirement that I really want to do.
So what's your plan? How often will you be able to use the boat since you're still working? What would be the plan for the next 2 years or 3 years until you retire?
Yeah, I hope at least every 60 to 90 days.
Okay.
Maybe I'll come down here and spend at least 10 days, maybe 10 to 14 days.
Right. When we were doing the BVI, we were in Florida, so we were close. So we were just coming Wednesday to Sunday. You're coming from the West Coast, so I agree. If you can do 6 or 8 trips a year, 10 days, that would give you, you'd be able to explore all those islands. You'd get used to the boat, and you'd know whether you want to sell it and pack it in, or if the lifestyle's for you, and
right.
you keep going.
Right.
So when you flew down for this trip, you came down a day early so you could go do a survey and sea trial. Tell us about that.
Yeah, and that was a great experience to get a chance to walk around with the surveyor, see every bit and piece of a survey. I'd highly recommend, like, anybody wants to buy a boat like this, man, you're there for that survey and you learn so much about that boat.
You have to be present.
Just follow that, that surveyor. That they're such experts in what they do, and so you learn everything about the hull, about the the power systems, the rudder, the keel. I mean, just everything.
So last weekend, I get a text from Mike, and he's all excited about coming down on this trip. He sends me a picture of a perfectly mint Catalina 22, 1986, sitting in a marina at a lake in California. And he says, hey, I just bought this boat to learn how to sail. And I'm like, didn't you just buy 149 to learn how to sail? But
well, see, so this is the deal. I didn't go right to the 149. I bought a Catalina 22 48 hours prior. Okay, maybe 72 hours prior. To really, because those, anybody that knows the Catalina 22, they've made like 15,000 of them, 15,000 of them since over the last 40 years. They're great boats to learn on. It'll be good for Mary to really learn skills, and you can just hammer on those
you will
things.
certainly learn how to sail a boat on a Catalina 22. And then when you get the Hunter, you're going to learn how to maintain a boat.
Right.
So
what you're saying is I'll sail the Catalina 22, enjoy it, put it away, and then I'll come down to the Caribbean and just work on the 149.
You will just fix it.
I'll just maintain it.
Because
I'll have Vessel Vanguard, which is an awesome program. So I plan on just following that thing to the absolute letter.
Yeah, that's what you want to do. You want to just maintain like crazy, so every trip you come down, the boat works, and you have a great time, and you don't spend 3 or 4 days with a bad engine or things not working and all that.
One of the things that is part of this decision process to kind of go in earlier than I expected is that, Mary's never really spent much time sailing, and she never grew up sailing. So, I get on a sailboat and I'm super excited, and it doesn't matter what weather it is, really. If this is going to be a lifestyle for us, one of the things that's important to me and important to her, she has to really enjoy it and worry about her.
I think she might have passed that hurdle on this trip this week, because we were in some kind of sporty conditions sailing the St. Barts and back. We were in 4 to 6 footers and 20 knots of wind, and she didn't get sick at all. So I think you did pretty well with that. The other thing I think is interesting is after you guys went to the survey and then coming on this trip for a week, is you guys, your knowledge level just went up drastically, because you weren't just guests this week, but you were watching everything we do: anchoring, sailing, navigating, how we take care of the boat and dinghy and all that stuff. So I think your knowledge level just went up drastically, so that when you get the Hunter, you'll be able to get on there with a lot more confidence.